There is, deep within the heart of every person, a longing that cannot be satisfied by mere mortal comfort. It is not merely the ache of loneliness, nor simply a hunger for companionship. It is the divine whisper echoing through the corridors of your soul, telling you that you were made for something greater, something beyond the natural, something impossible by human strength alone. And so you find yourself in a season of waiting. Waiting not just for change, but for an arrival, a person, someone, not just anyone, but someone sent, not summoned by your will, but sent by the will of heaven. God is not indifferent to your cries, nor has he ignored your silent prayers. He has heard every whisper in the dark. He has seen every silent tear, and he is not only preparing you, he is preparing someone else. In the vast web of eternity, threads are being woven now that will bring another soul into your life at the exact moment you need them most. But do not imagine for one moment that the arrival of this person will make everything easy. That is the illusion of fairy tales stripped of truth. When God sends someone to you, it is not always for your comfort, but often for your transformation. The ones God sends tend to stretch us, challenge us, call us out of our shallow pools, and force us to step into oceans. They will ask us to risk, to trust, to obey. They will see the divine potential buried beneath the rubble of our excuses. And they will not let us stay where it is safe. When the impossible is placed before you, remember, impossibility is only a word we use when we forget who is with us. You were not created for what is easy. You were created for what is eternal, and eternity does not obey the rules of time. The impossible becomes possible when eternity touches time. And that is what happens when God sends someone into your life in his appointed season. He is not just sending a person, he is sending a moment, a mission, and a mirror, someone who will reveal something about God and something about you. But beware, you must not confuse the miraculous with the spectacular. The one God sends may not come wrapped in glory. They may come in silence, in weakness, in ordinariness. They may not look like the answer. They may not sound like deliverance, but your soul will know. Something inside you will begin to stir, a recognition not of the person's appearance, but of their purpose. And when they come, you must be ready, not perfectly ready for whoever is, but willing to say yes, even when everything inside you screams no. Willing to believe that the impossible is not a wall, but a doorway. Willing to let go of control, of pride, of fear. Willing to trust that what God starts, he finishes, and he often starts with people. You must understand that this is not about romance or friendship or some fleeting earthly bond. It is about destiny. It is about obedience. It is about the grand story being written across time and space, in which you are not the author, but the beloved character. And the author has written a new chapter. He is turning the page, and someone is walking into your life not by accident, but by appointment. You are being called to do what cannot be done, not by your strength, but by his. You are being called to step out of the boat, to walk on the water, to love when it hurts, to forgive when it costs, to act when you feel afraid. The impossible is not a test of your ability. It is a test of your faith. And faith, true faith, always starts when reason runs out. Do not shrink back when the moment arrives. Do not let doubt dress itself in wisdom and convince you to stay safe. Do not mistake caution for holiness. You are not called to comfort. You are called to courage, and courage does not mean you feel brave. It means you obey when you are terrified. There is someone coming, and they may not know it, but they are carrying with them the very spark that will ignite your next season. And you may be the same for them. God does not send people lightly. Every soul he weaves into your life has weight, and you must treat them as such, not with fear, but with reverence, not with suspicion, but with discernment. For some of the greatest works of God do not come with thunder or lightning. They come quietly, humbly, in the form of people. God orchestrates divine appointments through people to fulfill His purpose in your life. There is a pattern woven throughout history, and it often begins with a person, not a vision, not a miracle in the sky, but a human being sent into the life of another at the exact moment when the need is greatest. This is how God works. He chooses people as vessels, as carriers of His will, as instruments of His grace. The story of salvation itself is a story of God entering time through flesh, through a person. And though we often look for answers in events or signs, we forget that the answer is frequently a soul arriving, often quietly, in the middle of our everyday life. These are divine appointments. They are not coincidences. They are not interruptions. They are the evidence of a plan so intricate, so beyond our imagination, that only God could write it. When God orchestrates something, it is not hurried. It is not improvised. It is timed with precision, but hidden beneath layers of what seems ordinary. A conversation with a stranger, a friend who suddenly speaks with unusual clarity, a child who asks a question that opens your heart, a teacher who says the one thing you needed to hear. These are not just people, they are moments embodied, messengers wrapped in flesh. Their arrival is not always comfortable, because what God desires to do through them is not always about comfort. Sometimes they arrive to encourage, sometimes to challenge, sometimes to confront, and sometimes to awaken something long asleep. But always they come with purpose. Always they carry something from heaven you cannot generate on your own. We are not solitary creatures wandering through time with random encounters. We are part of a grand design. Every soul we meet is either shaping us, being shaped by us, or both. This is why we must pay attention. The one God sends may not make a grand entrance. They may not look like the answer to your prayer, but God rarely chooses based on appearance. He chooses based on alignment. The person may be flawed, struggling, unsure, but if God has sent them, it is because they fit perfectly into the plan He has for your formation and future. They will bring with them a lesson you need, a comfort you were missing, a challenge that will grow you, or a question that will lead you deeper. It is not our job to decide who God should use. It is our job to recognize the divine fingerprints on those He does use. That recognition doesn't come from emotional excitement or dramatic signs. It comes from a deep knowing, a stillness inside your soul that says, pay attention. The ones God sends often awaken parts of you that were numb, reveal truths you were blind to, or walk with you when no one else understands the path you're on. Their presence is marked not by fanfare, but by fruit. Peace, conviction, clarity, courage, these begin to bloom around them. God's appointments are not about convenience. They often arrive when we are tired, distracted, or uninterested. But God does not consult our schedules when He moves. He sends who we need when we need them, not to make life easier, but to bring us into alignment with what is eternal. Sometimes the one God sends is meant to change your direction. Sometimes they are meant to hold your hand as you walk a hard road. Sometimes they are there only for a season, yet their impact will outlast a lifetime. This is the way of divine strategy. It does not operate by human logic, but by heavenly insight. What looks accidental is often providence in disguise. What seems small is often the beginning of something sacred. The arrival of someone into your life is never just about relationship. It is often about revelation. God speaks through people. He heals through people. He sends answers through people. He brings destiny through people. And the awareness of this should create in us a readiness, a humility, and a discernment that watches not just for miracles in the sky, but miracles in the form of ordinary people sent by an extraordinary God. The impossible becomes possible when you respond to God's calling with faith and Obedience. When God calls someone to step into the unknown, it is rarely with a clear map or a comfortable route. It is often a command that comes in the middle of fear, weakness, or uncertainty. That is the nature of faith. It is not believing because we understand, but believing because we trust the one who leads. The impossible is not a barrier placed before us to stop our progress. It is a threshold that invites us to grow beyond what we could achieve alone. When God asks the impossible, He is not testing our strength, but awakening our dependence on His. Human logic may scream that it cannot be done, experience may argue against it, emotions may falter under the weight of the challenge. But divine instruction does not require agreement from human reason. It requires obedience rooted in faith. Faith is not a feeling, it is a decision, a choice to act despite doubt, a choice to obey without full understanding, a choice to believe even when evidence is scarce. The story of every major movement of God in history is the story of people who chose obedience over comfort, who dared to believe that what seemed unreachable could become reality when placed in God's hands. God has never once been limited by human ability. He chooses the weak to shame the strong, the foolish to confound the wise, the broken to display His wholeness. He chooses people who know they cannot, so that He can show that He always can. When the impossible stands before you, it is not a sign that God has forgotten you. It is often a sign that He is inviting you into something far bigger than your own plans. The impossible stretches our faith. It forces us to rely on divine provision. It tears down the illusion that we are in control. It reminds us that miracles begin where human effort ends. But this is not just about large, visible miracles. Often the impossible is deeply personal. Forgiving someone who has deeply wounded you, trusting again after betrayal, speaking truth in the face of rejection, choosing love when bitterness feels safer. These are the impossible acts God often calls us to, not for dramatic display, but for quiet transformation. Obedience to God's call into the impossible does not guarantee immediate success. It does not come with the promise of ease. It comes with the promise of His presence. That is the only guarantee God offers when He calls you forward, that He will go with you, that He will not leave you in the deep, that His power will be made perfect in your weakness. He does not send you to do the impossible alone. He sends you so that through your obedience, His power might be revealed to you and through you. The path of obedience is often lonely in the beginning. Few will understand, many will question, some will mock. But if your eyes are fixed on who sent you rather than who surrounds you, then you will find the courage to keep walking. We are not called to results. We are called to faithfulness. God handles outcomes. We handle obedience. That obedience may require risk. It may require you to step away from what is familiar. It may require you to stand in the face of ridicule or rejection. But the impossible does not bow to fear. It only yields to faith. When God speaks, it is not an opinion. It is an invitation to walk on water, to build arks in dry land, to face giants with stones, to speak life where there is death, to believe where others have given up. The impossible is not meant to break you. It is meant to reveal what happens when heaven touches earth through the life of one who believes the one God sends may not appear extraordinary, but their arrival carries eternal significance. The one God sends into your life may not arrive with brilliance or splendor. There may be no grand entrance, no shining light, no unmistakable sign to mark their arrival. Often, the people God appoints for the greatest impact come in ordinary wrapping. They may look like anyone else. They may speak with quietness instead of authority, walk with uncertainty instead of confidence, or appear to be nothing more than a passing figure in your journey. But there is a weight they carry, something eternal resting in the words they speak, the timing of their presence, the depth of their soul. It is not the outward form that reveals the significance of their arrival. It is the spiritual echo that follows them, a sense that something has shifted, a subtle awareness that you are no longer walking through life alone in the way you once were. God has never relied on appearance to choose his instruments. He chose a shepherd boy to be a king, a stuttering fugitive to lead a nation, a teenage girl to carry the Messiah. His ways defy human logic. If we are not careful, we will miss what is divine because we are looking for what is impressive. We will reject what is appointed because we expected what is popular. The people God sends often come without recognition because their purpose is not to elevate themselves, but to awaken something eternal in you. Their role may be temporary or lifelong. Their message may be a word or a presence, but their mission is sure. They have been sent when they arrive. They might challenge you more than comfort you. They might speak truth that wounds before it heals. They might call you higher when you are content staying low. This is the work of those sent by God, not simply to accompany you, but to provoke transformation. They may not even know the full weight of their presence in your life. They may not understand why their path has intersected with yours, but God does. He writes the timing, he arranges the circumstances, he orders the conversations. And he weaves together what you cannot see, so that when the appointed person arrives, they fit the space he has carved for them in your journey. You must be willing to see beyond the surface. Discernment is not found in human wisdom or emotional responses. It is born in the quiet listening of the Spirit. The person God sends may be someone you once overlooked. They may carry flaws that make you question their purpose. But God has always used the flawed. He delights in working through weakness to display his strength. What matters is not their perfection, but their obedience. And what matters for you is not their appearance, but your readiness to receive them. Many people miss divine appointments because they are too focused on expecting a miracle to look miraculous. But sometimes the miraculous is wrapped in simplicity. The significance of the person God sends is not always clear in the moment. Their presence might not change everything immediately. It may take days, months, or even years before you realize what God was doing through them, but the fruit will testify in time. You will look back and see that their arrival marked a turning point. A moment when you began to see differently, to believe differently, to act differently. This is how God works. He plants people in our lives like seeds, and over time, their influence grows, blossoms, bears fruit. And we are changed because of it. The one God sends may not stay. Some are only meant for a moment, a conversation, a crossroads, and then they move on. That does not make their presence less sacred. It makes it more, because it reveals the precision with which God works. He knows exactly who to send, when to send them, and how their presence will unlock something that had long been dormant in you. You may be the same for someone else. Your life, your words, your very presence may be the vessel God uses to awaken another soul to its purpose, its worth, its calling. In this way, the work of the kingdom moves forward, not only through miracles and wonders, but through people sent quietly, faithfully, and powerfully by the hand of God.